Good evening everyone, and welcome to the first ever Keeper NHS Public Burton public meeting. Just applause there, thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed, Tom, and thank you for Paul and William having me back. I'm surprised after my behaviour last time I've been invited back to Burton-on-Trent. You've obviously got short memories, but anyway, thanks for having me back. I'm absolutely thrilled to be here at the maiden voyage of what I suspect will be a very influential organisation. In an Ipsos Mori poll in September 2016, the NHS is what makes us most proud to be British. It's ahead of our history, our royal family, our system of democracy, and so on. So how do you solve the problem of privatising the NHS when the public don't want it? Well, you have three strategies. One is lies, the other is stealth, and the other is to make the NHS discredited. A study carried out in 2009 found that the cost of running the market inside the NHS was about £10 billion. What a waste of bloody money that could be spent on making poorly people better. So we had, in 2010, we had a situation where the private sector was still only a small part of the public sector and was actually probably a useful instrument. But this was not good enough for the Tories who came into power, as you know, in 2010. There were many snouts, but the trough wasn't big enough. So the pace of privatisation had to be accelerated. In 2010, about 4 to 5% of NHS services were provided by the private sector. We need an external market. We needed mandatory tendering of all services that any willing provider or any qualified provider could provide. So we had the Health and Social Care Act, which was the next step in the fulfilment of Geoffrey Harris's dream. And the swivel-eyed visionary behind it was somebody called Andrew Lansley, who is now known as Lord Lansley of Cambridge. The first was that the NHS was a basket case. That's why there was a need for a fundamental reorganisation. But roughly at the same time the paper came out, we discovered, according to an international study carried out by the Commonwealth Institute, that the NHS was actually the international leader in terms of healthcare system. It was top for access, it was top for value for money, it was top for patient safety, etc., etc. And he got the Victor Ludorum, it was top overall. So Andrew Lansley paper suggesting we need a fundamental reorganisation was based on a lie. The important thing is that competition is anti-cooperative. I got into medicine because I wanted to make poorly people better. Honest, that's really what I wanted to do. And whatever would make poorly people better, as far as I'm concerned, was fine. If you get into private medicine, it's about, quite appropriately, maximising the profit for your shareholders. That's your fiduciary duty. So cooperation for the benefit of patients is replaced by competition for the benefit of shareholders. That's what Andrew Lansley's bill was really about.
Had a meeting over the last few days at my party conference with Dennis Skinner. Have you heard his story about this? He said, Dennis is now what, 85? He's not a young lad anymore. And he had a triple heart bypass a few years ago. He said, it was an international heart bypass. He said the anaesthetist was from Nigeria, the surgeon was from wherever else. He said the nature of the NHS, of course, right back to Enoch Powell's days in the 60s, substantially the staff are from all over Europe and in fact all over the world. If you remove all those people, one of the problems with Brexit is you could actually lose a significant percentage of people having been forced back into Europe, and that would mean the NHS couldn't actually operate. So there's the other say that there's no point in making demands of the clinical commissioning groups, we just give up. You're never going to engage with them. But people in Shropshire recently, the campaigners of this kind of group in Shropshire, they recently took 100 people to the clinical commissioning group. And you know, if you ever go to one of these CCGs, you've got two sets of people. You've got the GPs and the committee members and so on, but there's also those who make the decisions. There's the employed chief executive and his team and so on. And what happened in Shropshire was that they were putting forward a proposal for a closure 100 people went. They weren't violent, but they were 100 people. And the doctors voted against the decisions of their own chief executive in the meeting. They actually voted against. So that was a matter of actually recognising all the different ways in which you can. I'll just make one more point though, if I can, which is last week I saw on telly, and everybody else was sad enough to watch it. There was a good debate about, which we'll come back onto, the Sustainability and Transformation Plans led by Diane Abbott. And in all that, you've got Labour Party MPs who've not done very well recently. They've been keeping quiet, but they all came out and said, we believe in the NHS. And I was pleased they had a chance to say that in the colours of the mask. There was also a Tory MP from Calder Valley. And he said, basically, in my constituency, there are thousands of people protesting about the closure of A&E in Halifax and Huddersfield. And he didn't quite say it. He said, if I don't vote to support Diane Abbott, the Labour Shadow Secretary of State, if I don't vote to keep the NHS the way it is, next time up for election, I'm not going to get elected. So they were playing with the contradiction even of the Tory MPs. I'm not recommending that's the main access, but I think it is worth recognising it's worth going for the CCGs, the Tory MPs, the Labour MPs, the lot.